Okay, so welcome back. Yeah, the last point I made was about how the bird attacks happened every time something significant happened in Melanie's life, right? The whole scene where they attacked at the party whenever she grew closer to Mitch, whenever something happened, whenever there was any change in the dynamic. But I don't think it was just Melanie. I think it was a lot of like Avantika pointed out, a lot to do with Annie as well. Whenever Annie got a little jealous that Melanie was suddenly being a mother to Kathy, the birds attacked. When the whole townsfolk saw Mitch being close to Melanie, and they saw the whole dynamic change and how this outsider suddenly come and these bird attacks are happening. That's when the birds attacked again. Or when Lydia suddenly found that Melanie was suddenly entering the life of her son, then the birds attacked again. Like this really beautiful scene here, where look at this particular picture. How Lydia is that kebab mein haddi kind of thing. She is that obstacle in between the two of them, stopping them from actually being together. Um, so yeah, the birds kept attacking at every significant point in the movie. Um, whenever Lydia got angry, there was this point where Lydia got extremely angry. At this point, when the portrait shook and everything, and the birds attacked us, then so that was also when the whole bird attacks happened. But I'd like to step a little back. We can reanalyze the bird attacks in a little bit. I want to go back to the point about women. So this whole particular scene here, you can see all the women. You can see the dynamic change. How Melanie was this strong woman who drove her car really rapidly down the highway, and he was only living for herself. But by the end of the movie, we see that Melanie has become so dependent on Mitch. She has become, she had to be rescued multiple times by Mitch. I think that shows like the dynamic of women at that particular time, and what women were perceived to be like a little subordinate. They weren't exactly allowed to just be strong, very free willed or whatever. Um, yeah, so yeah, again, Shrish and Avantika made points in this thing. Avantika says um, maybe the birds were just protective of Mitch. They weren't really, it wasn't really Melanie doing anything, which is also true. That could be the birds could be protective of Mitch and were protecting him from Melanie's love or whatever, or from heartbreak. And the first kill was not related to either Melanie or Annie. The first skill was okay. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because that first skill is I do not have a picture of it. I should have one second. I think we have to do this. I will pull that picture up because it's really important, and that will bring us to one really important part of our film. Um, 1 second. Can you see the screen? Did it change?
Yes.
Perfect.
Um,
I will pause it at the point I really want to. I should do this more often. It's actually much easier to show you guys pictures this way. So in this particular scene, right, where she walks into him and um, and just before this, right here. So this particular scene, I loved this scene so much. So this scene, like Shrish pointed out, wasn't related to Mitch or Melanie, but wasn't it? Really, so the whole thing, Annie made a really beautiful point just before this happened that actually made me think so much about this scene. So this scene isn't meant to be just a kill, right? It isn't a kill. Look, this is so grotesque. This whole picture, the eyes gouged out, the bird attack. This is basically Oedipus, right? This is meant to be Oedipus. Annie does says she doesn't think it's an Oedipus complex. Doesn't think that's why Lydia is so possessive of Mitch. It's not a sexual dynamic thing. And but this scene does show that, right? How was Oedipus punished for marrying his mother? His eyes were gouged out by crows. And this is exactly what happened in this scene. So it makes you think, was there some kind of dynamic between Lydia and Mitch? I personally don't think so. It could be, but I do personally think that. Yeah, another thing that alluded to this was, if you noticed, Mitch never referred to her as mother. He always called her darling, or what else he called it? Darling, and I wrote it down. 1 second. He never called her mother. He called
Yeah,
her
I think.
dear. Yeah, he called her dear and darling. So that is very, that showed a very weird dynamic. It was it some kind of sexual attraction? It could be. We didn't, I don't think it was very clear, but it could be. I
And
personally don't
maybe
think so.
that was the reason. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll let you complete. I'll let you
no, go
complete.
ahead, go ahead.
Another thing why Lydia was, so not so fond of other women in his life, maybe because of those lines. But then again, another way to look at the attacks is every time there was an attack, Melanie got closer to Lydia, right? So after the first attack, Lydia goes back home. Melanie serves her tea, and then Lydia requests Melanie to go pick up Kathy from school. And then even towards the last scene, right, when the birds attack Melanie, and then they get closer, and then the scene in the car where Lydia is seen, comforting Melanie. So every time there is an attack, they get closer. And one of the main reasons for Mitch not having a successful love life or a partner was because of this. Was because of his mother, right? Because she wasn't very welcoming. But a relatively positive way to look at the attacks was they helped clear that deficit in Mitch's life. And somehow, I mean, it may not be the best way, but then they got her mother to open up to other women in his life.
Exactly. So I do agree with Anish. I think a lot of what the film was about was also the dynamic between Mitch and his mother. Again, this is another thing about Psycho, and I think in Psycho it's much more clear that there was a sexual relationship between parent and child. Again, we'll do Psycho again. I really want to do that movie later. But yeah, so the whole thing was whenever there was a new relationship forming, a new like Lydia and Mitch, or Lydia and Melanie, or whatever. Whenever that happened, the birds attacked. So I do think so. But we have to also realize that the birds were attacking in the background also. The birds attacked Annie in her home, irrespective of this whole thing. And I think that particular scene of the second kill in the movie, right? The second kill when Annie dies. I will go ahead to that particular scene. Here. So when Annie dies in this particular film and this particular scene where 1 second. Yeah, um yeah, when they find Annie dead, basically the whole thing was that there were bird attacks happening in the background also. It wasn't just Lydia doing it. I don't really link it to Lydia, but I think this particular scene of Annie's death is is trying to show suicide, right? I think this is Annie committing suicide. I think it is because she finally, when the whole thing happened, was when she kept losing hope one by one. Melanie first said that I should pause it here because it's a really beautiful moment. But yeah, whenever Melanie moved a little closer to me, she kept losing her footing each time. And I think the last straw was when Kathy, who was under her care, under Annie's care, went really close to Melanie and hung to her like a mother, and took refuge with her instead of with Annie. That's when I think Annie just gave up, and this was trying to symbolize Annie's suicide. In my opinion, it could be so much, but yeah, I think that's what this particular thing about this particular side part of the movie about Annie's death was all about. Um, yeah, I'd also like to go further and discuss that final attack on their home. I think this whole thing is really important. Multiple things in this particular scene. First, you look at what they are wearing. He's clearly wearing green trousers and she's wearing a green outfit. That is extremely like the lovebirds, right? So they are like the lovebirds in this particular scene. And every time the lovebirds were brought up, something happened, right? So remember when in this particular scene, when Kathy says, let's bring the lovebirds into here, Lydia's like, no, they are also birds, leave them in the kitchen. I think in just the next scene after this, um, yeah, the birds are still in the kitchen, right? This particular scene. So when they, yeah, so Lydia isn't really accepting the lovebirds into their life. They never accept the lovebirds until the end of the movie. And the end of the movie where Lydia allows them to come into the car and allows them, like, they are the only birds that didn't attack to the whole movie. I was personally expecting the lovebirds to be somehow possessed or something and causing the whole thing. But the lovebirds weren't. They're the only docile birds in this whole thing that didn't attack. So I think the lovebirds symbolize the small pocket of love and peace in the whole movie. It was a small thing where, like, despite everything happening, that those lovebirds were the most harmless thing in this whole movie. And I think that is showing that love itself isn't the problem. The relationship isn't the problem. It's just the dynamic of everything around it, the social interaction, the family interaction, the village. Um, all that is what was causing the problem, not the love itself. So I think that's what this particular scene symbolized. And it was only in the end when they did go into the car that in the very end, when they do go into the car with the lovebirds, that's the only time this particular scene, right? When they shared that look, it was finally acceptance, right? Lydia was finally accepting Melanie into that family, into that role, and she was so much happened in this last scene. But I think that those lovebirds were really important. The accepting of the lovebirds along with them, taking the lovebirds along with them, was like her accepting Melanie and accepting their love into the whole family dynamic. Anybody else has something to think about this? Like, has something to say about this? Like the whole lovebirds and love in this whole movie? Anybody? Yeah, Varun raised his hand. Go ahead, Varun. What do you want to say? Unmute yourself and
Actually, this has more to do with the really the beginning and the end of the movie. Actually, so if you notice, in the beginning of the movie, it's like you can see all these birds are in cages, right? They're at the bird shop. There's like, and everything is in a cage at that point, right? And they're more or less docile, these birds. They don't really try and attack anybody at that point. Of course, this is meant to set a theme, like right from the very beginning, they're very tame, and then gradually more and they get more and more aggressive, and at the end they're practically prepared to devour anyone that crosses their path, right? Now notice, like you said, they're wearing green, right? It was interesting because if you notice the reversal of the roles that happens at the end of the film, at the end of the film, it is the birds that are trying to get into the house. The house itself has become a cage for the people residing there, right? And they are more or less now become, they really can't harm these birds at all. There's nothing they can do to them. I think this is deliberately mirroring actually what's happening at the beginning and the end, because right at the very beginning, nobody really thinks anything of the birds that they're trying, be it canaries or lovebirds or whatever birds that they're listening. There's absolutely nothing that the birds can do to them. And even when they're set free, people don't really think too much of it. Like Mitch just literally puts that bird under his hat to capture it, right? And that's all he does. And therein the matter. Whereas, and you can see this almost as like again being reflected in the ending scene when she goes in that attic and all these birds are like relentlessly attacking her and have come through that small opening. It's like, so for me, I think it was more or less a representation that, you know, of helplessness actually, that these lovebirds have been caged their whole lives. And that's why they're the only docile, non-aggressive birds. And it's only because these are wild birds, these are free, and they're able to attack. I think it's more or less trying to be symbolic of oppression. At least this is what what my impression was when I saw it, because because it's more or less who is at the mercy of whom. Anyway, I think that's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah, so Varun shared this really different and beautiful perspective. While we were all talking about the main character, Varun talked about the change in dynamic, right? How initially the birds, and as the birds were being a metaphor for the lovers or whatever, they were caged up. They were, and they were completely harmless or whatever. And later on, the whole dynamic shifts. Now that the birds have become the hunters and the people have become the prey. Um, yeah, that was something I never noticed, and that is so true. That one time when the birds actually came into the house through that broken attic when she went to investigate, it was how it was basically someone trying to break into that cage of oppression. It was really striking, the change in dynamic. And I think that is also very when we talked about the whole communism thing, right, in the beginning, and the Nazis or whatever, more the communist thing, how we are so um, in the beginning of the movie, they thought that they were in control and the birds were, subordinate to them, and they were on the winning side. But by the end of the movie, it was the opposite, right? They were at the mercy of the people outside. So that's also something brilliant we can draw from here. How even though we think we're safe, we think what we believe is right, but as soon, at the flip of a switch, we are dealing with powers we've never even imagined. And that's something really beautiful we can draw from the movie. It isn't just about it is about the relationship, but it's so much more. Like I said, Hitchcock has layered so much into this. It's like one of those big, club sandwiches with layers and layers and layers and layers, or it's like some French patty with layers and layers, and you can keep drawing something from this film. But like Varun brought up the point about that attic, right? The scene just before this. Didn't you guys find the scene extremely sexual? The way she was crying out and expressing, it was extremely sexual in my opinion. The way she just responded to the bird attacks, and I felt that's also another thing about where you can explain it so many ways, like the oppression of women by society, right? That was something else. So even though she tried escaping so much, she couldn't even cry out for help. She couldn't even call out for somebody she loved. She just kept getting molested over and over and over. And that whole helplessness thing in this particular scene, she couldn't even cry out for Mitch. And again, it was Mitch coming in to save her. Like Melanie Daniels, stay in your cage. Mitch comes with his hat, puts it over her, and takes her out and saves her all over again. So I think that is also something which is like drawing a picture of this whole social dynamic of women in that particular society. And we had the nice scene in the bar, right, of the cowering women in the background, like just here. So we see the women just covering in the background. We don't. All the men are out doing the work. Melanie has to be rescued from the phone booth. All the women are quiet in the back of the bar, all hiding away, not actively in the whole fight. Even the smart scientist woman is seen cowering in the background, and I think that's also social commentary about the role of women in society, right? How when it comes down to the business end of stuff, women are still hiding in the background and not at the forefront of everything. It is really, I think it's really striking and beautiful, and how far we've moved as society from back then, or have we? I don't know. Food for thought, right? I guess. Um, Also, another scene. This reminds me again talking about women's being oppressed. In this particular scene, even when where is it? When the woman tries to run away with her children, right? She never runs away alone. She runs away with the help of that strange man at the bar. This particular scene here. So again, this shows us that the woman isn't independent. The woman has to get some assistance from a man to get her work done, right? She doesn't do anything on her own, and there is, I think this is the what Hitchcock was trying to say, or maybe one of the things Hitchcock was trying to say with this movie about, yeah, women still remain oppressed in society, even though we give them their voting rights and their rights to do whatever work they want, or you can be strong and independent and do all your social work like Melanie was doing, but you're still oppressed at the end of it. Anybody else have something to say about this? Anyone else? Anish, Shrish maybe? Or Leandra or Divya, anyone? Ian? Yeah, Ian, go ahead. After Ian, Varun.
Yeah, not, I have another point to make.
Yeah.
Like after a lot of attacks of the seagulls, they realize that the seagulls have a periodic attack, meaning they attack for a long period of time. After that, they stop. But in the attack, there is always someone dying, and then immediately after that, they stop. So maybe it's kind of like portraying that sometimes humanity sometimes gets very aggressive, okay, but they cause such severe damage that although they stop, it causes deep rooted feelings that cannot be erased. And yeah, just about that, like although they stop, there is that thing that they've created, it does not go away.
Very true. So exactly what you said, right? So humanity is so wild and aggressive that they only stop once they've gone too far and caused irreversible damage. And that is exactly what he's trying to say. It's like Varun said also, the hunters become the hunted. And when humanity starts attacking itself, or the birds start attacking their masters or whatever, or the workers uprise against the oppressors, it is that you that constant struggle, and only when you go a bit too far in your whole revolution, or even you go too far in your just anger and your aggressive protest, or your aggression in general, you only stop when you've gone too far. You never stop before you've gone too far. Yeah, Bhavan, what would you like to say?
This may be a very simplistic take actually on my behalf, but when I saw that scene, actually there was something that really stuck out to me in that uh, when they're all standing there, right? I mean, the whole cafe scene actually is set up really well. There's a very small like initially they just start discussing it like like as though it's nothing to really take care of, and everyone's just dismissing that guy saying it's the end of the world and all that, right? And then gradually it starts escalating more and more and more, right? And as you go forward, right, then what happens is that there are these arguments that are put back and forth that it's not scientific, and then they, like, as the whole scene progresses, people take less and less of a clinical point of view to the whole thing. Like, nobody really thinks of it that there's one guy who's like, completely willing to throw logic out the window and let's just shoot all the birds down, let us not. So I think this shows multiple approaches of policy making actually, because if you notice, like, they all have tried to put forward different theories and different solutions to what is a pretty big problem actually for them, right, at that point. And right at the very end, right, now after all the men go in this thing, and again it's very well crafted. They've shown this slow series of events that ultimately results in quite a great degree of carnage. And at the end, when she manages to find a safe refuge back, it's all these women who are, like, more and more inclined to, like, to go into a mass hysteria over this sort of thing. And it is the ornithologist who is not facing the camera. She's in fact
Yes.
turned away. I think it's and so what I read into that from that is that, I think it's meant to show that, at a certain point, that science just loses the dominion it has over arguments when it comes to policy and all that, and when it comes to, like, overall persuading the people ultimately will give into their own what's the word, prejudices and this thing. That's why even they're practically treating her like a witch, Melanie, when she comes back in, and that woman with her daughter practically says, you're evil, and she's slowly going more and more, and it's a very swift conclusion, but it's definitely deliberately trying to make people I mean, again, this is a recurring theme that makes you question of whether or not Melanie is really the cause of all of this. But I think overall that whole scene is to demonstrate how we as an audience also are slowly drifting further and further away from trying to find a logical answer to all of this, and more or less believing in a supernatural or a paranormal explanation for all of this. And that's at least the significance, especially of the ornithologist not looking in the camera. She's just has her back turned to it right now.
Yeah, exactly. The parallel between solving the problem, right? The typical Southern gentleman saying we blow them all to bits with our guns, and the that guy crying, world is ending in the corner. And yes, anybody have something to say? Okay, someone has
Yeah, I find it really interesting, like you said. The support cast, each of them have a unique personality, right from the ornithologist to the man saying the world is going to end and all that. And I think the characters were very well crafted, and this provided a lot of clues for the film.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of what you guys have said. Ian has raised his hand. Go ahead, Ian. You can say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, another point that I thought about the ornithologist was that, like, although they were all from the same place, like there will always be one intruder among all the other people, okay, who will seem like it's your own person, but who is not actually your own person, and who will take the side of the who's going to attack you. Okay, but it doesn't become very obvious. Okay, but sooner or later you will realize it that that is a person who is not on your side, and she tries to say it to protect the birds. Although when Melanie keeps repeating that the birds have attacked, she keeps going against her, saying that it's not true.
Yeah, I totally agree with Ian. It's also like how exactly like Varun do a parallel to the whole political and social debate. You have one side saying, hey, listen, these are the facts. I don't care about your harebrained stories. This is the science, and there is no way we can believe something else. And the other person is like, listen, I've experienced this and I've seen this with my own eyes, and this is how can you deny that people are dying because of this? And then the person who's speaking on the other side says, no, but science says it's not possible. How can you say people are dying? It is not. Something else must be causing it, and there's obviously a logical explanation to all this. And yeah, that is something that we should draw from that particular scene. That scene is so deep. There was again layers and layers in that cafe. But yeah, that is a very, very deep social commentary, especially like political commentary about the whole movie. Okay, so now I have an important question. Why didn't the birds attack at the end when they were leaving? Why didn't they attack Mitch when he was taking the car out? Why didn't they attack the family while they were leaving? What do you think, guys? That's like one of the biggest questions of the movie. Why didn't they attack in the end? Anybody, you can just unmute yourself and go. We have 10 minutes in the meeting, so we'll just wrap it up. Anybody has something to say? You can either raise your hand or just unmute yourself. Okay, maybe I think I will go here and I will show you. Yeah, is somebody speaking?
Yeah, so initially I thought maybe the birds attack periodically, so that's why they hadn't attacked at that point. But then I think when Mitch and Melanie come together, and also the acceptance from Lydia, all this leads to them not attacking, I guess.
I think so too. I think it is that everything in this whole film resolved, right? That look Lydia and Melanie shared is like Lydia finally accepted Melanie, right? She's like, okay, you know what? I accept you. You are a nice woman. You are good, and I trust my son's decision. So she accepted Melanie. But not just that. She didn't accept Melanie. She also, for the first time, stepped out of her home and said, okay, we are moving out. She stopped clinging to her past. She stopped clinging to that portrait of her husband. You can see how, look at this. Look, she's just sleeping upright, not allowing herself to relax, not allowing herself to be loose, like a typical mother in any modern family. Even here in this scene, clinging to her family and her portrait of her husband. not moving on. But I think at the end, leaving for her symbolized actually finally moving on. Little Kathy took the lovebirds along with her. That's symbolizing that I finally have parental figures. You know, I will have this couple and this love in my family again after so long. She didn't have a dad. She has this love finally in the family. She really wants it. That's something she's really been rooting for from the beginning. And she ran up and hugged Melanie. Um, Mitch has finally, come to terms with finding somebody suitable for his family, finding somebody his mother accepts, finding that, growing into that role of patriarch of that particular family. And not a patriarch by being demanding and oppressive of the women in his family, but taking charge and taking the women with him. He never once said that, listen, I'll do everything, you guys sit back. He finally grew into that role of the leader of the family, right? And I will take care of you and protect you when you can't for yourself. And finally, Melanie finally accepted Lydia as a mother. That look they shared, that look of love and acceptance. She was longing for that mother and that matriarch in her life. She really wanted that. It's something she missed her whole life. And I think by the end of it, when Lydia bandaged her up and cared for her like her daughter, and the look they shared, it's finally that okay. Melanie finally accepted her as her mother. I think this closure, that closure in the end, everything wrapped up nicely and tied itself into a nice bow. That it just ended and everybody was at peace with themselves and each other. And I think that's why the birds stopped attacking. There was no more turmoil between the characters. There was no more, the impact of their interpersonal relationship. It didn't have that ripple effect in society anymore. They came to peace. They made peace with themselves and their past and what they wanted from people and from the future and from themselves. And I think that's why the birds stopped attacking. Anybody else has a take before we close? We have Ian has something to say. Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, my thinking is a bit different.
Go ahead.
I feel like I feel it was kind of a woman oppression. So they attacked the women of the family because when Mitch is alone, like all this point has already been made, but when Mitch is alone, they do not attack him. But when he's with them, that time they are severely attacking him. Okay. So like when Melanie goes and sacrifices herself, kind of a sacrifice that she submits herself finally to the birds without knowing, and then they do whatever they want to her, and then after that they end the deal with her, like they close down the animosity against women.
Yeah, that is also true. As soon as they accepted that the women are strong, women can have their own lives, and women can have their own ambition. And when the women's problems get solved at the end, when there's a resolution for the women, and when the women accept that, accept that they have feelings and they can be, they've grown into the roles they have in society. That's when the birds stop attacking. That's also very true. Anybody else? We have just 4 minutes in the meeting, so if anybody else has something to say, they can finish off and then we'll end. Okay, I don't think anybody has anything to say. So I think we'll wrap it up here. Thanks, guys, for this excellent meeting. I know I promised a horror film and this became more deep than that, and it became more about social commentary and everything, but I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, Yash has something to say. Go ahead, Yash. You can finish off.
Hello guys, this was my first time at this club. It was really nice how you guys, reviewed the film, decoding it piece by piece. I actually never thought a 60s movie would be such complicated, and it would require such minds to think of it. Honestly, I did not watch the film at first place because I didn't know how you guys went with the proceedings at the meetings, but I absolutely loved it, enjoyed it totally. Kudos to you guys.
Thank you so much, Yash. Hope to see you again in our meetings and hope you can discuss more next time. And now that you've been comfortable with how we do stuff. Thank you so much. We enjoyed having you here too. Okay. With that, I think we shall end. Thank you, everybody, and good night. See you all next week. If any of you want to host the movie for next week, just message us on the group. So, bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.